This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road, Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, I'm going to welcome Terry Batcher and Harriet Suchet to the show.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harriet.
Good morning. I learned to turn off my radio, turn off everything, and then just leave this on.
Okay. What's that?
Well, she was freezing there for a moment, but
yeah, it starts to go in and out, but mainly she stays with us. You can hear us, right? Oh yeah, there she is. Okay. All right, so we're picking up where we left off last week, and we were just entering the Sad Badge and the Voigt Saga, which was basically somebody who was playing as though he was our friend, that he was assisting us, but in the end, it really turned out that he was nothing more than a troll from the Voigt camp. So a lot of the information you're going to hear here, some of it is just to confirm some of the notions or the complaints that we have made in regards to possible attempts to dissuade us from figuring the truth out, or maybe even giving us garbage, hoping to make us look ridiculous. But we were talking last week in regards to that little flap that Harriet believes is on the Halloween card that says by case. I did actually find one of the emails that refers to the cheese letter, so I know that everybody thinks that one is funny. I'm pretty sure I have it around somewhere. I just need to go through those mass amounts of files to find it. But Sad Badge referred to it in one of his emails that said, "I did not say the cheese letter had never been published." He said Voigt posted it briefly and was ordered to remove it. Speaking of Voigt, he was interrogated and named names to spare himself, just as expected. Expect an announcement soon, canceling his gathering in Vallejo. His name will be Mud come this time next week. Regarding Perez, keep this private, but she is being set up as a scapegoat. That was not the initial plan, however. So to discuss that just for a second, how could they make her a scapegoat? They basically employed her to pull off a hoax on America, right?
well, it's a sideshow, and it's like all of it's a sideshow to keep you off track.
Right. I just thought it was interesting that
anything to distract, that's how they operate.
Right. Well, but to even go as far to say she was a scapegoat when clearly they were attempting to make a documentary and a book on her. And of course, they had all kinds of people that were in on the plan itself. Even though he says it wasn't the initial plan, of course it wasn't. He doesn't allude to what the initial plan was, but he clearly knows that there was an initial plan for that, which tells me that he was likely in the know, part of. And even though they claim to have been using her as a scapegoat or attempting to bash her as not being a legitimate daughter of the suspect, the fact that they literally knew there was an initial plan for her, they knew that she was false, they knew that she was not the biological daughter of the man that she was claiming was the Zodiac, tells me that this man was also likely part of the Voigt crew and looking to make us look ridiculous in some way. But just so everybody knows, there was this cheese letter that by case is case with a capital K instead of C, is the German word for a cheese. So the cheese letter actually played right on into this flap that they sent over to us. And it said things like, I'm Gouda, Monterey, like it made references to cheese. And I'm hoping to find that here relatively soon. At any rate, That brings us back to the press release on Deborah Perez, and we started off with it, but I wasn't able to finish it last week, so I'm just going to restart it from the beginning at this point. So this is an investigative reporter journalist, Larry Garrison, comes forward to support the evidence that Guy Hendrickson is the Zodiac killer. Los Angeles, June 9th, PR Newswire. Now, everybody, if you're not familiar with the PR Newswire or the UP Newswire, these people have real-time information being sent back and forth, just like the mob, just like the casinos, the news companies, the government. So they literally take in these news wires and then they publish them to get all of the news companies on board to send their reporters out. And this is what we're seeing is the result of that. All of these reporters and people who have shown up because they've seen this press release, and everybody wants to be here to listen to Deborah Perez, Kevin McLean, who is the disbarred partner, I think, of F. Lee Bailey, but it does relate to Melvin Belli. So these press releases go out huge, and this one went all the way around the world. I was getting calls and emails and text messages from friends and people who had been following my work from all over the place. So this news hit big, but when she was found to be a hoax, it had a 3-second blurb of her being acknowledged as that hoax, but I'm sure that was only on local news here, so it didn't hit around the world like this news release did. So Los Angeles, June 9th, PR Newswire. For the first time in 25 years, the San Francisco Police Department will call in a key potential witness for questioning to identify the Zodiac killer officially. Deborah Perez has been called by Lieutenant Michael Staskos, badge number 724 of the SFPD Homicide Unit. Date to appear is June 17th, 2009. Now, by the way, she went and did this press release 30 days after my news release on CBS 13 about identifying Jack's handwriting, and her story is basically just about like Dennis's. It's almost a repeat or a copy. And the fact that she was working with my mentor, Bart Baggett, who was aware of Dennis Kaufman. Bart Baggett worked with Tom Voigt, who was aware of Dennis Kaufman. They certainly set her up with a story to make it look as though everybody's claiming it's my stepdad, I did it with him, these kind of stories, in order to just obviously make Dennis look ridiculous. But
Sure.
Date to appear is June 17th, 2009. She will be questioned about her father, Guy Ward Hendrickson. The nation's top forensic experts have endorsed her handwriting, psychological, and DNA evidence showing participation in the Zodiac killings. Her evidence was recently turned over to Lieutenant Staskos of SFPD. Now, the DNA evidence showing participation in the Zodiac killings, they've alluded to the fact that we find her DNA on the letters, which was not true. But it says Deborah Perez was 7 years old at the time she became his innocent sidekick. Deborah became aware of her father's involvement in the Zodiac murders years later after viewing a segment of America's Most Wanted. Again, identical to Dennis's story. Composite that resembled her father. On April 29th, she came forward with a press conference at the San Francisco Chronicle. The glasses, which she handed over to Lieutenant Michael Staskos on May 5th, currently held in evidence by SFPD, will be part of the DNA proof needed. Deborah Perez feels she owes it to the families of the victims to put this case to rest. Though others have come forward, no one has been able to substantiate a claim as Deborah has achieved. So now they're touting that she has more evidence and more circumstantial evidence, and being an eyewitness, she is the strongest witness so far they've ever had in this case, which is by all means hilarious. Has been able to substantiate a claim as Deborah has achieved with eyewitness testimony, forensic, and DNA evidence. She is also the only witness ever endorsed by members of famed attorney Melvin Belli, who the Zodiac contacted. The Belli Group has requested the Zodiac killer Melvin Belli files, which SFPD has in possession for 40 years. Larry Garrison, president of Silver Creek Entertainment and investigative reporter journalist, has just come on board to support Deborah Perez. After his own investigation, after his own and I love this part. Yeah. Have you heard of Silver Creek Entertainment?
No, I'm just saying that you can tell right away it's going to be turned into something that's fiction. So we're going to make a TV show out of this.
That's what they were attempting to do. They were going to do a documentary, and maybe Larry Garrison was going to back that. it says Larry Garrison, president of Silver Creek Entertainment and investigative reporter journalist, has just come on board to support Deborah Perez. After his own investigations, Garrison verified the evidence. This is awesome, including handwriting analysis reports of Perez's with professionals, which would be Bart Baggett. Garrison has been showed that Deborah, in fact, wrote those Zodiac letters, and her DNA will be on at least one of the envelopes. Attorneys from Belli office have also confirmed that Deborah was, in fact, the child who accompanied her father, Guy Ward Hendrickson, to Mr. Belli's office. So the story and the lies are long. Larry Garrison states the proof will be in the forensic evidence and DNA once Deborah has her chance to have it analyzed. Contact Larry Garrison at 805-370-3630. And then this was followed by Sad Badge's message, which says, you are probably privy to this information, but how coincidental. Right after our conversation. Sad thing is that we already had the inside scoop on this little event. Somehow it makes things less shocking, but you still have to wonder who would go through with the likes of such an event with what is being investigated at this very moment. What is your take on these games? You said that Perez and company was paid to do this. So how are they receiving support from SFPD? So sorry, that was my response to this press release. When I went in to investigate, so basically those that are involved with this hoax at that particular point in time is Larry Garrison, president of Silver Creek Entertainment, PR Newswire, Lieutenant Michael Staskos of the SFPD Homicide Unit, Kevin McLean, and I'm not sure how his name is spelt because I have 3 different articles in my presentation and you can see the various ways that name is spelled. And maybe that's so that we can't figure out who he really is, but there is information that supports he was the disbarred partner of Melvin Belli or possibly F. Lee Bailey. He was definitely the PR rep for Deborah Perez. It says nation's top forensic experts, which equals Bart Baggett. He claimed that there was a genetic predisposition for Deborah Perez to write like her father, Guy Hendrickson. However, they are not biologically related. So we know that this can't possibly be true. Deborah Perez was adopted by Guy Ward Hendrickson. So clearly there could not have been a genetic predisposition. After viewing the America's Most Wanted composite. So again, we are pulling back in America's Most Wanted and John Walsh saying that the composite that resembled her father. And then that obviously is exactly like Dennis's story. Then we had Bart Baggett, Tom Voigt, and John Walsh all together in the circle again. And I want to mind you, Tom Voigt could have stood up at any point and backed Dennis's belief that I was given altered letters in order to keep me from coming to the right conclusion in the handwriting in this case. He's very well aware of the size of these letters. He has been around this case since the early 90s, maybe even before. So he definitely knew that when I came out and said that I had been given bad samples, that he could have backed that, and he chose not to. Mm-hmm. San Francisco Chronicle was involved and Deborah Perez was involved. And we all know Deborah Perez was also on the internet shortly before this whole fiasco stating that she was the love child of JFK. So how much do we believe coming out of this woman's mouth, right? Who did their investigations? Did Larry Garrison even remotely look up Deborah Perez? Because it was simple for me to find. Mm-hmm. Anybody, any comments?
That JFK really got around, didn't he? Him and Elvis?
Yeah. And evidently with women in Mexico who had 5 kids living on dirt floors, because that's the story. Jan Hendrickson, the actual biological daughter, relayed to me was that her dad had fallen in love with this Hispanic woman in Mexico, and she had 5 children who slept on dirt floors. So he married her, adopted the kids, and brought them to California for a better life. Wow!
Yeah,
and
it was the Cuban Missile. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis era. While he had a double in the White House, he was over there in Mexico having sex with 20 women.
Right.
They were about to go to World War III. Okay, yeah. That's how far out the story is.
I just empathize with Jan and with Guy Ward Hendrickson. I mean, this man had to be someone honorable to have done this, to have married this woman with her 5 children and brought them here to California for a better life. And this is what he receives in the end after he's passed away. So he can't even defend himself. So I took a look at who Larry Garrison was, and ooh, the shock and surprise. So it says Larry Garrison is president of Silver Creek Entertainment in Los Angeles. Oh, there, go figure. He's an executive
Got pretty
producer.
long nose on that boy.
I knew you would say something, Terry. You know, I can't hardly watch a movie anymore these days without seeing some reference to Jewish backgrounds, whether it's the Jewish star planted on someplace secretly behind the actor, or they're wearing the little yarmulkes, or the references to the. I just cannot throw a rock at a movie and not find a reference to it. It says he is an executive producer in film and television, a journalist, an author, an actor, and a publicist who works with magazine shows, print, and radio. His company has produced and brokered news stories for ABC News, NBC News, and other news media organizations. So this man is pretty high up in Hollywood, right?
Of course.
Natalie Holloway? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Wait, I'm going to keep to that.
Keep going.
Right? He says, in a TV newser that actually you can see up here in the right-hand corner where it relates back to CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and MSNBC. So this man is covered by everybody. Who is Larry Garrison? He's a self-described journalist, actor, producer, motivational speaker, and White House media consultant, even better, who is paid $12,000 for his research help involving the night's primetime report on Natalie Holloway.
Oh, wow. It's right in there, huh?
Right. And I think, didn't we just find out, didn't we just have a break in the Natalie Holloway case since somebody admitted to committing that murder?
Well, a few years ago, yeah. I think it's been a while.
Well, you know that Natalie Holloway's mother knew John Benet Ramsey's father.
Right.
Really?
They were dating on the side.
They were dating.
What?
I believe that's right.
So and then there's more. Okay.
Oh my God, you always blow my mind, Harriet.
He looks like, remember the character Bowser that used to be on the old Match Game show? That's what he kind of looks like. He looks like Bowser with a shorter haircut.
Well, I think that he failed everybody in his investigative journalist techniques because he clearly did not investigate Deborah Perez well enough to know before he backed her. So he was paid to back her.
Running a narrative. They're just running their lying narrative. That's, they tell, like John Ramsey said, they tell a lie and they tell it often, and that's how they operate. If you tell the truth, they'll make up 10 lies to match you. So you can expect trolls and all this. I mean, on this other case that that I talk about from up north there in Idaho, there's some people being inundated with the trolls. I mean, they are not used to it. And I'm like saying, get over it. You got to expect that. That's exactly what they're going to do. So you're taking the flack because you're right over the target. That's why.
Right.
You take the flack and you're over the target.
Here's some of the more interesting parts about this guy. It says, as a freelance producer for ABC, he helped obtain FBI reports and other hard-to-get documents. How do you get that unless you're in the know?
Right. Exactly.
How do you come upon FBI reports? And it's the same thing I ask about some of these people. And Garrison may even be somebody who has a website on the Zodiac who claims to be able to obtain reports and things that others cannot. Bottom line, that's showing involvement. That's showing that you are in the know of this entire cover-up.
So all of what you talked about so far, really, we can summarize and say, okay, there's obvious evidence that, hey, Dennis came up with the truth, and they countered with a lie, and that was the Deborah Perez story. I mean,
right.
Nothing new. You can expect that. You can expect that with these people because that's what they're going to do. They're just going to dredge up something else.
Well, I also show that Larry has also produced segments of 20 on 20. Now, I've spoken with Harry Phillips of 20 on 20. And when they ran the segment, they offered to pay for the DNA testing of about 8 suspects. Jack was not one of them that was included. But Arthur Lee Allen and many others were, and they were able to exclude all of them as possible suspects to the DNA. Now, the 20 on 20 thing really brings me back to the fact that my own mentor, Bart Baggett, has done several segments for 20 on 20. So there's your unique connection between Larry Garrison and 20 on 20.
Yeah, rewarding him and punishing. They're rewarding him and punishing those that don't go along with their narrative. And that's how they operate. It's a power and control thing.
They certainly did. Bart Baggett
Yeah.
tried to demise my business when
Sure
I
he
went
did.
on and gave my own opinion in regards to Jack's handwriting. Before I knew it, there was a mad campaign against me using Google AdWords, which limited my business to pretty much nothing while I was paying $1,000 a month in pay-per-clicks because they had caused that rate to hike by advertising in my same area. And then I wasn't taking any jobs. So I literally almost went without work for approximately 3 months. It was one of the toughest times of my life. And I didn't realize that plan had been set forth by Bart until 2021, when I joined a forensic society, and the people who were part of that had indicated that they were part of that plan to try and demise me.
Didn't he indicate that he hinted that he was going to do just that too if you went down that road?
He told me that I could lose my tuition, I could be kicked out of the school, that I would not become a document examiner. He threatened all of those things in one phone call because he did not want me to do the news release. And then I think within a few days, I received a phone call back from him, and he must have spoke to his attorney or otherwise and realized that he could not put that burden on me because Dennis had not paid me. So contractually speaking, my contract with him was that at any time a paying customer came in, I would have to split that fee with him, and that he ultimately would render that opinion until I was no longer an apprentice. And because Dennis had not paid me, he said,
pardon my language.
What'd you say?
I said, what an asshole. And of course,
right.
That's, yeah.
Can I just say that Dennis, I think, told me he did that on purpose I think he was aware that the payment thing would cause something. So he was glad that there was no payment, because Dennis had the money to pay you.
No, Dennis didn't have any money then. Dennis had no money. Dennis never had money. I paid for storage sheds. I paid for gas. I paid for all kinds
I did
of
that
things.
too. That's how come I know he had the money. He had other people's
but
money.
I don't even want to talk. Let's not talk about that, okay?
I'm
just saying that had Dennis paid me to do this job up front like any other normal client, then I would have been obligated by the contract to go by my mentor's opinion and not my own. And Bart relayed that in the second phone call, that based on the fact that Dennis had not paid me, I was not obligated to adhere to the contract, and therefore I could release my opinion, and that is what I did. So
I want to point out a Zodiac line, and pardon me, just real quickly. I'm in control of all things. That was a Zodiac Jack line. I mean, and that's the way it works out, doesn't it? I'm in control of all things. It's the whole, everything he did was a gigantic journal, fortunately, for everybody.
Definitely. Oh my God, I'm still I'm unraveling so many things. Nanette, I've yet to send you some stuff, but
I know. Hold on, you guys. I got to keep up with the show.
So much control.
Oh, now who's in control? Well,
all right. Right now, I'm in control. I need to move on.
See how that works?
All right. So people are talking, they're debating, and they're looking at our show right now, you guys. So I just learned this last week. I got an email. I received YouTube comments in regards to it. But it says, if you watch the video, they are calling you out for debate. The Ned Ross, Druser Drew, and few others are Voigt Trekkies that are aligned. Last week, they had Ray Grant, Zodiac Killer Solved, a detailed solution to the most infamous serial murder case of the 20th century. Kindle edition by Ray Grant, author format, Kindle edition, whatever. It reads off. They rigorously went at Ray where he was so distraught, I thought he was going to stroke. He pulled down all his YouTube comment and channel, or perhaps they had him take down. He was well-researched on the timelines, etc. Sad to see. I have gone many avenues around your suspect, stuff that is too hard to describe, his affiliations with others, and trying to tie it all in. I am slamming Jack's information on the Facebook threads, composites, certs, etc., since they have posted this debate to you. On all the Zodiac Killer forums on Facebook, I countered it with your today's live. There has been a bit of stir around Voigt lately. My take, don't respond to them. It will just end up like Dennis if you do. They're going to either get so fed up with me on Facebook that they will block me off their sites. At the moment, I have the main perpetrators trying to stir this blocked so they can't slow me down and allow others to review Jack's certs, etc. Facebook bombing them with JT. So she did give me the link of this particular Zodiac killer news report that's found down here. So evidently the day after Christmas, my son's birthday. Thank you guys for the present, because even if you're bashing me, you're causing people to look at me, and eventually somebody's going to take notice to the truth. It says, I watched them target a few now and they managed to take them down. So I think that they're alluding to the fact that they think they can take me down. I'm not sure how. I have done counterattacks, posting Jack certificates, all kinds of documentation on Jack is indisputable. Expect an audience you have not had before. I've heard that before too. Here comes Oprah, whatever. So she goes on to show these different certificates. She says that cannot dispute the address here. 6049 Park Avenue, Richmond, California is government property with trees on it. In other words, Jack is Secret Service. She shows his certificates on there. And then she says, to boot, he is a firefighter certified, which allows him access keys throughout California for state, federal, and military fire roads. You should see the fire roads around Mount Tam where all these bodies appeared. Those are very, very interesting statements that she's making. And I think if they're attempting to bash Jack's evidence, then anybody can come to this podcast and see that his evidence is solid. I have proof of everything I say that he was. So to carry on with Sad Badge, it says they couldn't know unless I had asked who ordered him to remove the cheese letter. And I'm still confused as to how another person knows you gave that to me. He says they couldn't know unless they are an operative. You may post info on my behalf, except anything requested to be confidential. He said Voigt doesn't call the shots at ZodiacKiller.com. The info posted there is by SFPD by design. It's all a front. Even Richard Gaikowski is 99% make-believe. He was invented to distract from Jack Terrence. Regarding the cheese letter, I don't know that anyone knows you saw it. It's not a big secret and was once posted online. Maybe they guessed right. Who knows? Very interesting. Some more information. He says, everything is okay to post except what I stated about Perez. Too late. He said, Garrison is after money. Duh. Look at the man. He's like a flashy Liberace. Of course he's after money and willing to do whatever it takes, obviously. Sad Badge goes on and says,
Mayor Newsom.
Right?
Sorry.
SFPD and only SFPD have possession of the Zodiac's DNA. If they were so motivated, they could claim it matched the subject of their choice without anyone being the wiser, which is what they are going to do unless we put a stop to it. Money has already changed hands. Mayor Newsom just bought an expensive new house. Simply put, this case can only be solved in San Francisco by the SFPD. Perez was groomed to be the one, but things have recently changed. She's grown unstable, forgetting her lines, ad-libbing, etc. As of now, she won't be the chosen one. San Francisco relies on the tourism dollar. People might be more inclined to visit a city that cares about victims of crimes, no matter how much time has passed. This is about money, which makes it so dangerous for all involved. And I said, don't quit on me now. You have my full attention. Where does this leave us with the possibility that SFPD is using this to call closed case on Z with the wrong suspect? Can they get away with that? Now we know they can get away with anything they want, right?
It would seem so. Yep. Pretty much so. Not immediately, but they will.
Right. I said, I'm a huge why person, in case you can't tell. I've always believed that there's something to distrust if the person cannot look you in the eye and tell you why. I keep asking the significance of keeping Perez hush hush, and you haven't responded. Now you ask for Dennis to become part of this posting. I am naive and would like to believe that you mean the best for me, but somehow I question your motives so late in the game. Again, I'm sorry for the frustration this may provide, but I am so scared of everything and everyone around me right now. I no longer know who to trust or who to put my faith in. He said, I want to see what the next move is regarding Perez. That's all. I said, easy enough said. I can at least respect that answer. So news this week is now happening next week? ? Perez's meeting with SFPD is on the 17th, correct? This coincides with the cover-up and gives them opportunity to call the case. How do we stop it at this point if they are so close to crying closed? What is the deal with this D'Antonio character? He is contacting me and telling me I'm being set up. He says, I don't know what is now being done with Perez. Plans are changing every day. That's why I want to wait and see. D'Antonio was briefly considered to be the one, but this theory was full of too many holes. Mainly it pointed to a suspect who was cleared via DNA back in 2002, at least in popular conception. And that may have been Arthur Lee Allen. I think, was D'Antonio, Harriet, was he an Arthur Lee Allen fan? Do you remember that
believed
character?
that. Yeah, I think he was, but he believed he saw smiling faces in yeah, like LSD smiling faces on the paper.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah.
He was definitely a character, that's for sure. All right, so I said, are you aware of any involvement of Lieutenant Hennessy with this? I think Lieutenant Hennessy was with SFPD, correct, Harriet?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's actually was Sheriff Hennessy at one point. At least the name sounds familiar. I'm from San Francisco, so that would be.
I feel like,
San Francisco.
Let me see. I said, this is what is so confusing. Why hate when the goal is solved? What did Dennis do to Hennessy that would provoke such a hostile environment and rape these innocent families of a vindication and seeing Jack Terrence held responsible for the crimes he committed? My stomach is truly turning at this very moment. He said Hennessy was playing politics and it cost him because he now has much to lose if Jack is proven to be the Zodiac. So I think Hennessy is probably the one that round filed the evidence Dennis walked into the SFPD that Dennis complained about. If I have that correct.
All I know is Dennis had video of him walking in because he didn't trust anybody either. He was the cell phone expert, so he rigged his cell phone in a bag when he walked in, so that way anybody who told him anything, they didn't know they were being recorded. He had that on video. It was, yeah.
Well, too bad I never saw that video or had access to it because I would have certainly promoted it. Just keeping in mind. The person that was telling me that I was being goaded by this other Zodiac show also indicated that they had their own emails they sent me thrown back at them from Tom Voigt's site, which would indicate that Tom Voigt has entered that person's system, correct? I mean, how else could you obtain somebody's private emails?
Right.
And this was a thought that Dennis had. He thought that his phone was tapped, his emails were being watched, that all of these things were going on. And so it really kind of scared me for this individual because they could potentially lose all the research and everything they've done simply because somebody is inside their system. So I sent an email to Sad Badge. I said, I'm anxious to talk again. There's so many questions and yet so much info in this case. I just hope to be able to accomplish whatever you felt you could trust me to do. Again, please answer. Why did you choose me? Why not Dennis? He responded, Kaufman's channels of communication have been monitored for some time. Phones, email, etc. That's one reason. So clearly he's stating that these people have climbed into, and yeah, me and Dennis, you even, Harriet, we used to joke all the time, they're listening in. We can hear the clicks. We can hear the, these funky things that happen on the phone.
And what would I say? What would I say?
It would only happen when we were at Harriet. Hold on. It would only happen when we were actually talking to each other, either me, you, or Dennis. Mm-hmm. I never had these phone issues with any other conversations. So go ahead, say what you were going to say.
I just wanted to say real quick. I'll just say real quick, Terry. I would say, okay, if you're listening in and you're friendly, I love you. If you're listening in and you're not friendly, go fuck yourself.
And I
just wanted to say, look at who the biggest enemies are of the U.S. and Great Britain right now. They're Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. Those guys were telling the truth. They were saying, look, your cell phone is spying on you all the time. It's controlled by other people other than you. Same thing with your computer. If you don't realize that, you're screwed. And that's why, look at how bad they both got slammed. I mean, one slammed out of the country and into a hostile, what they say is a hostile country of Russia, and the other one's has been in prison in Great Britain, and they want to extradite him to the United States, and now there's been some movement in that to where they're saying that, but I wanted to go back to pointing out something about surveilling stuff. Okay, so Dennis goes in there. I can tell you what they would tell him. They'd say, well, you can't legally surveil us. That's an invasion of our privacy.
Right.
But,
and I don't really have, Terry B, I don't really have.
I just want to point out one more quick thing.
I know, but I don't have time to go segueing
how does that square with monitoring in general the public? I mean, like, if you went down to the local market and they're putting you on live stream, that puts you in danger. If they do it.
Everybody knows that they're being monitored. Everybody knows that they can remote into your computer. They can remote into your phone. Yes. Okay. So, literally speaking, that is not really the segue I want to take off right now, because we know we're being monitored. That's the bottom line. I used to respond when I started to hear these things, and I wanted to think that Harriet and Dennis were just a little conspiracy people. I would just tell Dennis, I'm about to get busy. And he'd say, what do you mean? I said, well, every time you call me with new information, I start getting slammed with actual work. So I can't even focus on the Zodiac case, because now I've got these jobs to do. I said, but thank you for calling. I'm about to make some money. I'll talk to you soon.
Well,
either way.
You get buried.
That's par for the course.
So
exactly what happened to you, that's what they do.
I sent another email to Sad Badge. I said, you've earned much credibility inside our camp based on your answers to the Hennessy questions. Dennis is on board with you now. That question was actually for him and was a gut instinct that no one else could have known unless they were actually inside SFPD. I didn't even know the significance of it until after I told him your response. I'm guessing that sitting back and waiting is all we can do at this point, unless you have an idea of how I can facilitate the truth being told. I hate to think that Perez crew could get one up on us with SFPD while we are waiting for the truth to unfold. And he responded, I have much more for you and Dennis, but must sleep a bit first. Never forget that Hennessy is the enemy.
Hennessy is the enemy.
I would think so.
One of many enemies.
I don't drink it. I might have had a sip of it once, and it wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I said, I had to wonder if Dennis was being monitored. You don't think I am, do you? What is the other reasons? There is talk that one of Voigt's cronies were contemplating on his message board setting up a fake timeline with fake people involved to see how far they could get with me. I tend to believe it is something trying to discredit you, so I still wonder things like above. He said, if you were being monitored, I wouldn't have made contact. You're safe for now. As far as your other attributes, I don't want to prejudice this operation by listing them. The users known as J Closer and Diamond D are planning on jumping ship and attacking the credibility of you and Dennis at a site you know all too well. You may want to beat them to the punch and give them the boot. That way it will look like they are posting out of spite. William F. Armstrong was a real detective. Cat's Eye is well known to mental health workers around the Bay Area. Dennis should be made aware so he can decide if her posts are worth it. Are you kidding me? Like, he literally wants to back you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was living in up here in Lake County when I'm doing this. So, I mean, that was just definitely, I wasn't even in the Bay Area. So,
I know.
Anyways, keep going.
Like I said,
Cat's Eye, by the way.
Right. Yeah. He definitely turned out to be one of the Voigt cronies. So obviously anything he has to say in regards to people that are helping us with this case is merely just that, him trying to bash the help.
Who do you mean by who turned out
this Sad Badge guy?
That's what I was going to say all along. I'm going, wait a minute, isn't he a kind of a, well, I won't say anything nasty. But you know what I'm saying?
He's sprinkling pieces of truth to make it look like he's helping us, and all the while he is baiting. Exactly.
Yep.
So his next email after this was, this case is closed. Jack Terrence was the Zodiac. Congratulations on being the one who made the match public, but it goes beyond handwriting. Now we have science. Dennis needs to make the announcement, and we need plenty of lights and cameras. No way SFPD can deny the truth any longer. Next week is it. Thank you for all your hard work. Hope you two have speeches ready. As if we're going to, and this is on, this is in June of 2009. So it's still not close enough to when the FBI told us they were going to close the case on Jack in 2010. I said, you say it is closed. They say there is a need for us to go public, but with what? We have no proof of what you've told us. It is next week it because Perez and gang are going to be backed by SFPD, or is next week it because you know that the info will be put out by SFPD about the individuals involved? You're being very vague. He says, vague. Okay, how about this? The Zodiac handled items at Lake Berryessa, a box of condoms, and transferred his DNA to the container. The discovery wasn't made until early 2007. It was a perfect match to Jack. We did not need SFPD's cooperation. Please do not post this info. We are prepared to wait until after the Perez meeting to see how many charges can be racked up. I said, what agency did the testing and when? This won't go on the board from here on out. I'm getting fed up with him basically at this point. He says, our lab. Now he's taking personal possession. Our lab in Virginia recently completed the testing. So would that make him an FBI agent?
That would make him Quantico, the intel community within the United States borders.
And he's saying that the state offices may not even know yet.
So a fake agent too. You know, I mean, it's fakery, and what level does a fakery start and stop? It's hard to know.
He's actually telling the truth here, because I got decoded missives from Jack saying a bunch of his DNA is tested, and they already 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And this is in the 2000.
So in the 2000 letters, your solves are indicated. Well, I said he sent his DNA and fingerprints to Tom Voigt.
I'm losing you guys.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
She's frozen again. You start talking the truth, and they're going to freeze you right up. I'm telling you.
Right.
Sorry.
No, I believe you. I believe you. It is exactly what I think. So basically what I'm hearing Harriet say is that she has solves from the 2000 letters. We know that there was DNA and fingerprints sent to Tom Voigt, which he has cleverly attempted to disguise and state was not from the Zodiac, but I can show you how it all ties in. Tom Humble, Texas, Super Fudge, the 2005 letters. So yes, I believe that Harriet is coming up with solves that indicate they already know who Jack is. There you are. You're back.
Connects to it. All of his hints cross connect. Heavily, we agree, Cat's Eye, or
yes,
Harriet, right?
Yes.
They cross connect. Everything he did, he said at least 3 times, if not more, and you know he put great emphasis on certain words as well.
Or sometimes
one of the
even
ways
the statements.
You can know if you're a layperson can know.
And sometimes on his statements, they can mean 2 and 3 different things. So it almost gives you a headache trying to figure out which direction you're supposed to go in.
I would say you should expect it. You should expect that if you are saying something 3 times, you better pay attention to it. And anything new happens. Even though Jack hasn't been around for a long.
You're right, Terry.
You know, that's how they operate.
Okay, so I tried to get a message board or something to get the message board to Dennis's site. Has someone shut it down? It says the link is broken, just like the missing letters from Voigt's site. He says something is out of Hall of Justice in San Francisco about 5 years ago. Thankfully, I've moved up. Until very recently, the only Zodiac DNA was in the selfish hands of SFPD. That has changed, thank God. So he is claiming now that the DNA is in the possession or the hands, as we just alluded to the FBI or Quantico.
Mm-hmm.
He says, hello, Nanette. My previous email account was compromised. Go figure. We just been talking about that. I had to create a new one. Perhaps we should create a secret code so you will know it is me should this happen again, which it probably will. You decide. For now, I'm signing this email SB, which I had not done in our previous email exchange. So if mine are being monitored, he's now just given everybody the password, right?
Yeah. You need a whole new format to be in secret, I swear.
Right.
You know.
I'm none of the people Margie ranted about, just so you know, but I think you already do. I'm glad you banned that kook. Your credibility has been called into question. Here is something that might help you and also Dennis. Remember a few days ago when I was rather vague about some pending news? Well, the proof is in the pudding. In a last-ditch effort to save face, SFPD is now claiming Deborah Perez has provided a DNA match to the Zodiac. Here is the link to an otherwise credible news source, and this is Mercury News. I don't know if you'd call that necessarily credible, but when I went... when I went to the link, just like many other things, it's been torn down. Oops, that page can't be found. You can see right here in the right-hand corner.
Oh,
A woman who in late April stood in front of dozens of people and claimed her father was the infamous Zodiac killer will be questioned by the San Francisco Police Department on Wednesday after DNA evidence linked her to the famous case. While I expect the story might get altered at some point if it gets to be too much of a hot potato, really, you and Dennis should be flattered at the lengths they've gone to keep you two from receiving your just rewards. But fear not, Sad Badge is here and the truth will win out. Feel free to post this email at your fine forum. Hopefully this will prove that I'm not playing games. No, he in the end offered to tell me the size of his penis, so clearly the man was playing games.
His acronym should be switched around as BS.
Yes.
Instead of SBBS. Figure it out.
Did you do that frequently, Ned, or infrequently?
He did it once and then I blocked his butt, so it didn't matter. He said, well, it's about time you I said to him in another email, well, it's about time you return and this is good news for us. How? Lies and deceit prospers and I should be flattered? You have strange sense of humor. Laugh out loud. He said, please make sure Dennis sees my last email with the link to the bogus DNA match story. Thank you. I sent it to him, but we already knew this was going down. Everyone, even previous to you, there must be a leak at the DP camp. Dennis warned me of this weeks ago. He's not surprised. He says it's what he expected. So back to my question from the previous email, please. He says, I don't know that you asked me any question that I can answer at this time. It's a work in progress. I believe the DNA Perez news deserves some attention at the forum. He says, this, are you Tom Voigt silliness is beneath you. So I'm accusing him of being a troll or Tom Voigt because it just is right up Tom Voigt's alley to do these kind of things to people. He says, for one thing, Oregon has a population of more than 4 million, many of whom are California transplants like me. Not to mention, oh, you know what? I researched his IP address and found him in Oregon, and then I attributed him to Tom Voigt because that's where Tom Voigt was. So he says, many of whom are California transplants like me, not to mention I admitted to living in Oregon and have made no effort to disguise my IP address, etc. By the way, I never said I once worked for SFPD. Being there doesn't mean I was under their employ. Leaving us off with the final by case, I say to him, let's see, wish for Dennis's just as well. Okay. I said, I will tell you. Oh, just as well, I suppose. Summer semester just started and I'm way too busy with work and school to have the necessary time for any more exams on unauthenticated documents or riddles. Wish for Dennis' sake I was good at them. Guess we will see what happens tomorrow. And he responded, I will tell you what will happen tomorrow. An interview will happen. No evidence will be found. SFPD will not press charges. She will fade into the ether. He's talking about Deborah Perez. The apathy will continue. Good luck with your schooling, but please let me know if you are too busy and I am barking up the wrong tree with my information. I don't want to waste my time as much as you don't want your time wasted. Feel free to share my recent communications with the public. Maybe someone will put it all together. He says, tomorrow we may know. Looking like she might be a laughing stock. The C is the key. And he always is hitting me with these riddles I never really quite understand.
Yeah, he's a busybody, ain't he?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, just jump ahead, to go back to that by case thing, will you comment on that? I mean, what do you think? Is that in Jack's hand? Is there an inkling that it's in Jack's hand?
The script of by case matches the Dick Tracy comics and the by knife, by rope, by fire, by gun. So it is a replica of that. This was given to us by Tom Voigt along with the cheese letter indicating there was a fourth where this flap was on the Halloween card. And I was under the impression that it was a hoax because it had the J Tar at the bottom, which is also named as Star in Robert Graysmith's book. So when you look at it, you almost see the word Star and not J Tar, because we know that the Zodiac J's were pitched on their side like at an angle and contained that little curvature which made them look like an S. So it is indicative of what we know how the Zodiac writes. I just didn't know whether or not this was authentic, and Harriet explained to me that it was. Oh my gosh, you guys, we were about to run over.
You know what? Those R's are are it.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, but Terry B, they could use the font. There is an actual Zodiac
No,
font
yeah, I
out
know
there
that.
they
I
could
know that. I
use
get
to
that.
create it. Okay.
I get
So
that.
you guys, we're running over right now. It's
Thank you.
7:50. I want to thank you guys for being here and sharing this information with everybody. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Time flies.
Yes.